have to be connected somehow? Hmm. Okay. Oh, there it is. That is a 4-minute countdown. I can hear my voice coming across the YouTube channel. Hello, inmates.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. I hope you all find yourselves well today. It's good to see you. Okay, so today we're going to be welcoming back Dan from the Overwatch channel and OverWatchProject.com. Going to be our fourth interview / open discussion together, and we're going to be covering Astral Projection, eliminating media and news consumption, and then we're also going to continue on from our previous discussion, because we didn't really get too much time to go into it, about seeking truth and you know, the landmines that come along with that. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Dan to the channel. Good to see you, my friend. How you doing?
Hey, Mark. Pardon the voice. Had a little bit under the weather for the last 3 or 4 days.
No worries, no worries. So yeah, you were saying you got that on a trip you took, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where, but I picked up a bit of a cold type bug, you know.
Gotcha.
So, but I'm here, ready to go.
That's right. Cool, cool.
And yeah. So yeah. Oh, so anyway, you saw the video I posted just a couple days ago.
Yes, that's awesome.
First, I cannot believe that they actually made that movie, to be honest with you. The Matrix and the movies like that, they totally sci-fi the whole thing. This is the only movie I've ever seen where it shows like an infinite reincarnation loop, and actually a group of people, as distorted as the story was, a group of people trying to stop the reincarnation cycle. I mean, I've never ever seen that before in any fictional any movie I've ever seen, television show.
Same here.
And I forgot to mention a couple of things. One of the things I forgot to mention in that video was the device they used to contain a soul so that it wouldn't reincarnate again. Remember I said they had a special shotgun with a special... can you hear my dog barking?
Yeah, that's all right, man. It happens. My dog gets nuts too. So they had a special gun.
Yeah, it was like a special, this special shotgun with a special round, and what it did was it captured the soul of the person after it shot them, so that that person was like contained. But it was what I forgot to mention in my review, because I did it all off the top of my head, was that it wasn't really just a containment chamber. It was really a bit of propaganda for what do you call it? The transhumanism there a little bit, because really what they were doing was supposedly putting your consciousness or a person's consciousness onto a piece of digital media. So, like a hard drive. And this is like the BS you get from the transhumanists when they think that you can transfer that the human brain contains consciousness and it can go be put on a chip and stuff like that. So it was kind of odd seeing that in this movie because it didn't seem to fit. The technology they were describing didn't really seem to fit what was going on in the movie. I mean, obviously, the consciousness of these people are not coming from the brain. So, I mean, their whole movie is about reincarnation. So, if you're reincarnating non-physical consciousness into a new human, the brain is just a conduit. It's not where your consciousness sits.
Yeah, no, we've been totally hoodwinked on everything related to the brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. It's but it is what it is. It's like everything else in this world, right?
Yeah, it's a movie worth watching because, I mean, as long as you're aware of all the propaganda, they're trying to give you the typical dialectic. Always two choices, always two factions fighting against each other. There's a lot of a lot of misinformation in the movie, but it's still worth watching if you're aware of all that.
For sure, it can only help, and I love how it was like the pro reincarnationists, or oh my god,
pro reincarnationists.
Yeah, reincarnationists versus
aka believers versus the anti-reincarnationists, aka the nihilists. Now, I don't know, the word nihilist doesn't seem to fit that description. Just because you want to not reincarnate on Earth anymore, I don't think makes somebody a nihilist.
No, yeah, that's pretty going a little extreme.
Right. So, yeah, it was. Of course, that they really had to paint the picture of that group as evil, as bad. They have to be stopped. The ones that wanted to stop reincarnation. So they chose in the plot the absolute most way that people would, viewing the story, would view them as bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
They really boxed them in as bad guys, which is different than some stories they paint that you have the villain, but the villain's relatable. In this case, they tried their best to make the villain unrelatable, and at the same time, no matter how hard they tried that, there's still a part where you can kind of relate to the villain, because I mean, they are describing, the one guy is describing basically endless torture. Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention the movie.
That's all right. That's all right.
Bathurst in the movie, he does make this comment at one point. He has this like moment where he breaks down. He goes, "Lifetime after lifetime." I'm just paraphrasing here, but he basically was saying, surrounded by idiots, surrounded by zombies and idiots and morons, and how much more can I take?
Exactly.
It never gets any better.
Truth bomb city right there. Oh my lord. Jeez.
But Mark, so I wanted to talk to you about astral projection and out of body experiences a little bit, because I became aware that you've had some success in this.
Yeah, I have. I've had a few, and even recently I had some too, but they were not. They were pathetic. Although one was kind of interesting. I think I told you how I went in and out of my body 4 times in one night and was basically freaked out by some creepy entity that was at the foot of my bed. And I just couldn't collect myself to stay in the experience. But it's never happened to me like that, where I went in and out of my body 4 times. And there was even one successful thing. I know you wanted to ask a question. I'm going to try to look for an image because I want to show you something. Because we talked about this in a Astral Projection meeting a while back, but I think I've only mentioned it once on the channel. But yeah, feel free to ask away.
First, you got Unordinary Made Ordinary in the chat there. She said she's been trying to connect with both of us.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Ordinary. I got your messages on my channel, but I've never got any emails. I don't know what happened there. I'm sure Mark can. You can. Maybe she can email you, Mark.
Yeah, I think she just did. Burke told me about it yesterday, and then I saw an email this morning. But yeah, I'll probably try and get back to her. Trying to get back to you, Julie, sometime next week for sure.
And Quantum of Nonsense says, why would some directors show truth in movies? Well, I think they all do that. Fiction's the best place to show truth, right, Mark?
Absolutely. They cover up everything, and make it a joke. Yeah,
you can get away. Plus, you can get away with it. I mean, if we're just trying to show people truth, it's the only way you can do it without being persecuted. So,
and the other thing, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, the other thing I'll say about movies is, I think it's really tough to say. I don't want to go drag on too long with this, but I just like we see with people who write books, musicians who write songs, and even some script writers in Hollywood have mentioned how they got ideas for movies in their dreams, or it was just given to them, and they openly admit this. And I think a lot of that is also with these big movies, because some of the people you look at who are giving this message, they just don't seem like the type of people who are capable of giving that type of message and seem like they're like spiritually evolved, awake, or whatever, and kind of on the connecting with things. And it just, at least organically, I should say. So I feel like a lot of these big truth films and music and books and what have you, I think a good portion of it does come from the astral, is part of like controlled releases, so to say. And if people are just taking it as a joke, and they're just there to see a good film and don't think anything of it, it's not going to wake people up, except for the very small amount who are onto it. So,
right, yes, and of course, there's a whole other thing. We'll get back to that astral projection in a second. Just one more thing. There seems to be that another thing going on simultaneously, where they're taking really well-established stories, and for whatever reason have decided to destroy them. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's so obvious. They've
decided to
like
wreck.
Crazy.
Yeah, they decided to wreck. Now, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to take a peek at the latest and worst ever since the Star Wars thing has been taken over by the Mouse Empire, but the latest Obi-Wan show there, where I'm still trying to find a coherent explanation as to how in the second episode the Grand Inquisitor, if you know Star Wars, if you're a fan, the Grand Inquisitor could possibly be killed when he dies in Star Wars Rebels years later. So, for anybody out there that's Star Wars fan, they know what I'm talking about. They just killed a character that is alive for a couple of years in the canon. So I'm still waiting to find out how they figure out a way out of that one. It's almost like the people that wrote the script didn't even watch their own shows. But anyway, yeah. All right. So back to Astral Projection. So my thing is, I've tried to do it, and I have not had any success except one time where I entered the vibrational state and then panicked, and then it kind of bailed out of it, and then that was it. That was as close as I got.
It's common. Did you see anything? Did you see an entity in your room or anything?
No, I had a sensation of separation for a few seconds. I had this big vibration, or no, I could understand what you'd be doing, but by sort of like you feel like electricity, and then I was like, holy crap, this is kind of, like it freaked me out. And then I sat back into the body. I didn't have a chance to see or do anything. I was like, damn it. But apparently most people have that reaction the first time.
So yeah, no, it's common, man. It's intense. It's intense. Yeah.
No, my biggest curiosity, especially since you've had the experience, and the things that I never think get fully addressed when I'm reading books about them, is the sensation that you have that how I'm trying to figure out how close is it to an NDE. NDE experience, the person actually feels true removal from the physical, where they don't feel like they're confined anymore, or they feel like they don't have pain anymore. Like they
weightlessness.
Have
yeah.
Yes.
Total disconnection. Yeah, that's how I felt, and it was wild, and it was during a time in my life when I really didn't have any distractions, like nothing. I was, alone and able to do my thing and dedicate myself to it, and kind of reap the rewards, so to say, as a result of it. There's something about really just putting that intention there and almost like living it for a period of time to get that result. There's really also something about, at least for me, this is strictly like for me, because I don't, everyone is different, and that's the crappy thing with astral projection, is that, yeah, there are things that can kind of help a number of people, but still it's like you kind of got to find what that thing is for you that works for you. And at the time I was like a one-man meditation wrecking machine. I got a meditation pyramid, full size one that took up a good portion of a room, and it helped. I think it really helped. And I initially got it for meditation and bought a camping pad, like an inflatable camping pad, nothing, just a little bit to make it more comfortable. Threw some pillows down, a blanket, also used some shungite pyramids, some quartz crystals. And I mean, this is what I was doing, and was able to get out of my body a few times as a result of it. And
I wonder if it's the way you sleep. When you sleep, do you have I don't want to say what word or what adjective. I'm like a destructive sleeper. Like I am all over the place, tearing. By the time I wake up in the morning, the sheets are all pulled out. I toss, I turn.
Uh,
I never lay still for more than a few minutes. And I
mm,
always wonder if that sabotaged me a little bit because my body keeps moving around.
could
Do
be.
you have? Are you like one of those people that just you go to sleep, Mark, and you just like lay down and it's like you're in suspended animation, or how's it work for you?
Yeah. I pass out very easily. Almost within minutes of my head hitting the pillow, I can fall asleep. But what I have found is, um, sleeping on your side. I'll never have any sort of experience. Like I have to be laying on my back. Like that's the one thing I would stress. Because it does seem to be that way for a lot of people, at least from my understanding, looking at other people's experiences and techniques and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I don't really move around too much. Probably a little bit, but nothing like you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I'm sure that works against me. I've been rereading Monroe's first book, and I started reading. I told you Robert Peterson's "Hacking the Out of Body Experience,"
Mm-hmm.
which is really so far a pretty good book. I recommend it I listened to it on Audible. But what I should say is I've been listening to the books, and I listened to Monroe's first book on Audible or re-listening to it, and I did catch several things in Monroe's book. Like I mentioned to you before, like he breaks his own rule in the second book that he establishes firmly it's established firmly in the introduction of the first book. Did we mention that last time I was on here?
No, but we talked about it privately. I remember, when we talked, I don't know, about last week on the phone or something.
Yeah, Monroe makes a very similar statement, or I don't think it's him actually. The introduction of the first book is simply written by I forget who wrote the introduction. Was it William Bowman or somebody?
For Robert. Oh, you're talking about Monroe's book?
Yeah, there's an intro. I don't think it's actually written by Monroe. It's about somebody talking about Monroe and his methods. If I remember right.
I don't think it was Bowman, but it might have been.
Whoever the author was, whether it was Monroe or somebody else, the introduction of the first book makes it perfectly clear. But says something very similar to whatever we said. You have to look at the information. You can't mix it up with your own imaginations or your feelings about it. And it gives an example. It gives an example of an out of body experience, what actually happened. I'm just paraphrasing here. Like somebody wakes up, they're floating over their body in their bedroom while their body's asleep. They see some kind of shadowy figure in a room. Then they get frightened a little bit, and then they fall back into their body and wake up. And then the introduction says, like you hear that's what happened. But if like a religious person tells you that's what happened, then they'll say it like I was asleep, and then an angel of God pulled me out of my body, and then I saw their figure, and then I was cast, through the grace of the Lord. I wasn't killed. I wasn't taken. I was returned to my body. Blah blah. And basically, the introduction was saying that this book is going to try to, like Monroe's method is to try to eliminate that injection of beliefs and just tell you what happened, so that you can, because the belief systems get in the way of finding out what actually happened. They just kind of clutter and muddle everything. And then, and then when you get to Far Journeys, after the Luce story, is where Monroe basically falls back on that very same to appease his own dilemma.
Yeah.
He basically concocts this it's all love nonsense narrative and injects it into his own story. basically making him break his own rule. I guess everybody's got a line they can't cross, I suppose. I don't know.
That's really important to put out there. And there's, I think that's really, really important point to distinguish that he's breaking his own rule. And I just to go back to Robert Peterson, the book I have is Out of Body Experiences, How to Have Them and What to Expect. But you are reading How to Hack Out of Body Experiences by him, right? The updated version.
Yeah, because he talks about that book in this book, and basically saying that he didn't realize that it wasn't as helpful as he could have been in that book. So he basically rewrote it with more emphasis on, like I think he said at one point, well, he'll be covering like 50 different ways, in detail on how to get out of your body when you're, because not one thing doesn't work for one person, it might work for another person. And so far the book's very interesting. He even, covers what the sciences have to say. And he's basically saying, even though they don't believe that you're having an actual out-of-body experience, what they find out about the physical brain and how your physical body reacts during these states is important to know, because the body, I guess, is programmed or designed to do certain things when you exit. It sort of goes into some kind of certain type of brainwave activity and a certain type of paralysis, and it has certain biological reaction to having the soul leave temporarily or step out as you're wandering the astral planes or wherever it is you're going, which apparently is not limited except by your imagination where you want to go.
Well said.
You said you said you traveled basically 1,000 miles.
Not to give too much detail, but I was in the Northeast in one state, and I don't think it was there's two. There was one, I was in a state in the Northeast, and I crossed over 3 states to a intended direction and to a specific house just to see if I can do it. And it was also near a place that I used to live. And I was able to do it. It was like kind of my first test. And then the second one was because I was so engulfed with the Nikon P900 and filming the moon every night for quite a few years that I said, I want to try to go to the moon. And so I rise up, start shooting towards the moon, and I'm using my intention. Then I feel at some point like it's not anything violent or messed up. I just felt like I couldn't go any further once I reached the moon. And what was interesting about it is like I had already, here we go with, belief systems too. So just take that into account. But at that point, I didn't feel the moon was a physical object, but I wanted to confirm it. That was the whole reason I wanted to astral project to the moon. So I go towards it and I feel like something stops me at one point, but I'm still pretty damn close to it. And it looks just like a disc, like an image on a TV screen, like a hologram, I guess you could say. But I could not go any further. It's like I was restricted. And it wasn't like there was no entity interaction or interruption or anything crazy. It was just, I just couldn't go any further. And so then I went back down and that was it. And the experience ended.
Now, when you travel across state lines or you were zipping across, 3 states or whatever, how fast did that? What's the time Like if I got into a car, let's say I wanted to drive from, I don't know, let's say I want to drive from Georgia to Washington D.C., or it would take me a good 10 hours maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Well,
uh,
by car where I was headed was, I think about 4.5 hour drive by car, probably 60 miles per hour or 5 hours, something like that.
and
And mhm.
how fast when you're zipping in your astral
Okay,
body?
well, here's the thing. Like, I distinctly remember going over New York City. I distinctly remember going like parallel with the New Jersey Turnpike. And then there seemed to have been almost like a moment where I just skipped from, let's just say, northern mid Jersey to where I was headed in the south. And it was fast. I mean, I don't even think I could really say how fast that was going. It was just, I really don't even know. I don't even know what I'd say. Maybe 100, 150 miles per hour, I guess, if I had to say it. But there's also like a block of time of scenery that I should have seen that I just don't recall. You know what I'm saying? Like so I can't explain that.
Hmm. Now, when you mentioned the moon thing, I told you before, I read the out of body experiences are tougher to pin down because they're different. They're slightly different than NDEs in some ways. And also, the NDE was always the key for me to have a 100% proof that we have a non-physical consciousness that leaves the body at death, and that proof comes from when they're verified. Somebody has an NDE, somebody has some type of event, hypothetical, like a heart attack in a hospital. Their brain, their heart, they have cessation of life. The doctors know this. You're hooked up to machines. Everything's being recorded. They're trying to revive you. Somebody pops out of their body in that state, and then before they get distracted, before they get pulled into a tunnel, before angels or whatever, or they get called off into some other dimension or some astral plane, they may exit the hospital room, hear a conversation at the nurse's station, go down to a waiting area, hear what their family was talking about at the time, maybe think about their house, pop over there, see what was going on in there, and then you have doctors, nurses, family members, hospital personnel, whoever was in their house, verify that what they said was accurate, and that is undeniable. You have to be, because you have thousands and thousands of these cases, and these people that are stuck on materialism, you have to be beyond dense at that point, beyond dense to try to explain that away.
Yeah.
But OBEs, on the other hand, is distortion. There appears to be a thing where you can't always trust what you're seeing as being accurate, because I think it's because you're still connected to the physical body. So sometimes people report seeing mirror images, or the inverse of something. Like instead of seeing something correctly, they'll see it backward, and or they'll misinterpret what they're seeing. Even in Monroe's first book, that happens quite a bit. He's misinterpreting what he's watching. It appears to him people are playing cards when they're actually opening the mail or something like that. And so there's a bleed over between your brain and your soul, and I guess so. There's always like a thing like, okay, so maybe you're zipping along and you're whisking to your destination, but maybe you're also blinking in and out
Yeah.
because your body could momentarily come back awake, and then you fall back to the astral, and you're traveling there. I mean, to me, I'm very certain that it's happening, but it's so much harder to get that data where you can just like the NDE data.
Yes.
You cannot, like
Totally
the
agree.
NDE data is like, yeah, I mean, it's just like you can't just like blow it off. The doctors and nurses aren't making this up. You can't come up with some of these people. They always say, well, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. You heard that a lot, Mark?
What was that? I'm sorry. What was the term you just said?
Extraordinary claim that you
Yes.
need to have some extraordinary amount of evidence.
Yes.
Right?
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence or something, right?
I say that a claim requires evidence. Period.
Yes. Yep.
Doesn't require anything extraordinary. But based on what they're saying themselves, then they want to tell you that, oh yeah, see, somehow a person with no brain waves, no heart function, in a medical hospital room monitored by equipment definitely could have heard a conversation in a room down the hall from the hospital room where he's dead at during the time that he's dead. Yeah. And that they don't require any extra proof, the skeptics. So
the skeptics, man. I don't even care. Like there was I don't remember what it was, like an NDE or something I reviewed not that long ago, and the segment started off with addressing the skeptics, and I was like, okay, just skip all this bullshit, skip past 3-4 minutes of it, just wasting time. The way I see it is like there's screw the skeptics. They are where they are. Most of these people are just they just want to argue and debunk and just for the fun of it. And then there's obviously a whole nother section where they're just cognitive dissonance on steroids. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. So as far as like you getting to the moon and stuff, that's the other thing. I look for consistencies in a lot of these OBEs because that's where I think the evidence is at. So you read about all these different people from all these different walks of life that have astral projection. Either they can control it, or it spontaneously happened for some reason. Maybe they had a very stressful moment in their life and something happened and they projected out of their body or whatever. And then they may not be able to control it all the time, but they've had the experience. And you look for all the commonalities, but there is a and maybe people that are listening right now know about this. There are certain places apparently where a lot of astral projectors say that when they try to go there, they're not allowed to go.
Oh yeah, let's definitely get into that because what we were talking about this afternoon on the call.
Yeah. So I've read cases where supposedly if you try to enter the White House or the Pentagon, you will be either blocked by something or actually intercepted by astral projecting agents that will stop you from entering. Maybe somebody in the audience there, if they know anything about that, comment that. But I've read that on different forums and different interviews where I've listened to, some people that have mentioned it. Nobody seems to go into great detail. They just say, I've tried to go in there. I couldn't go.
Can't do it.
I was blocked like by a wall or something stopped me from going, or I was intercepted by these angry agents and they told me to leave and scared me. I think it makes total sense because everybody knows that ever since this stuff's come out, the government probably knew about it 50 years before anything like Raymond Moody's book ever got published, or before Robert Monroe's first book got published. I mean, everybody knows that government used stuff from the Monroe Institute for their remote viewing and other Project Stargate and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't they have set up some kind of security?
Absolutely. Yeah,
to keep people out.
Yeah, I think with we have the human body, and then we have you can call it the astral, etheric body, and then you have the core, which is our essence. So you have 3 layers, and you leave the body. That's number 1. Number 2, then you're kind of in that astral body, and then you still have the core in the center. So you're working with 2. So I think, given what we know about this realm and how it operates, it's not far-fetched to think that they're working with some sort of energy manipulation, frequencies, or even entities to impact that astral body once it gets in a certain area that it doesn't want revealed, like the White House, like the Pentagon, things like that. So to me, that makes a lot of sense. That would occur. And I just asked Julie, because she said, yes, I interviewed an expert astral projector, and indeed they will say you are not allowed to be there. So apparently she's spoken with someone too.
Oh, okay. So so I've read it in several places, and to me I thought it was kind of like, wow, that's because it never even occurred to me. I mean, my desire was simply to get out and I know this is going to seem silly, but I just wanted to get out and walk around the outside of my house in the astral, just to verify that, hey, this is a thing and I can do it too. And then I wanted to then my desire wasn't to explore the earth so much, although I did want to try to maybe have one experience where you pop over to the Roman Colosseum or something like that, or some little cafe near there, and just
just to see, and
then what I really wanted to do was see if I could get, can I go outside the entire universe? Because one of my theories is that the entire universe is the garden, the matrix. That you have to get out into a multiversal area to really actually finally get out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
that's what it seems to me like.
And I wanted to see if you. I mean, I wanted to know what's outside. What's beyond this whole whole reality realm. You'd call it whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, in this realm, reality, whatever we want to call it, is an expert at making us try to think that this is about all there is. I mean, talk about lame. I mean, really, if this is all there is to it, and including the astral, what we've seen with the astral and all the experience, it's lame. I mean, it seems like you can, you're more free. You can do a lot of more interesting things in the astral or through OBEs, astral projection, breakthrough trips, etc. But, it looks a little too familiar to some things that are going on here. And that to me is a big red flag right there, that, it's obvious that this realm and the astral are linked, at least in terms of the experiences that we usually see. So, this realm has perfected itself to make us not think outside here, oh, this is the universe, the solar system. The soul is lured into the system. And then, you mentioned the garden, the Garden of Eden, you're getting eaten. So it's... someone somewhere decided to make a garden, make loosh. But where does the garden end? That's the question. I mean, garden's kind of a very loose term when you're talking about loosh production by simply
having material beings going through suffering and other emotions. So, where does it end exactly? Does it end at Earth's astral, where the Earth's astral ends, and or does it end like is everything in this reality part of the garden? Is it does it require you to exit into a completely different universe, for lack of a better word?
I mean, the way I see it is the kind of we talked about this very, very briefly, and it's just a theory that multiple Earths, multiple physical realities. We know there's ridiculous amounts of astral realms. So why wouldn't they have backup Earths and backup physical realities, even different physical realities or mirrors of what we see here? And maybe with some slight adjustments here, slight adjustments there, maybe one's more intense, one's less intense, maybe one's all happy-go-lucky, and then everything in between. And then downright evil, which we seem to be in that one. But
without a doubt. No, the level of that's it's good you brought that up, Mark, because to me, the level of evil that is perpetrated on Earth here is it not only is it truly astounding, the amount of evil, but how people can be so delusional and somehow try to make it into like that this is like a positive place, and when it's even just because it gives you some positive qualities. I mean, we live in a relatively nicer area of Earth compared to others, relatively speaking. We wouldn't want to be in the middle of like North Korea right now, right? We wouldn't even be having this conversation. We'd worry about what to eat next. But you have to be some of these people that want to just think of this place as like a school or something. I mean, you have to really be delusional and put aside what empathy you have. And just for a moment, when you think of the level of suffering that some beings on Earth are going through, the killing that has to be done, no matter what you're eating, has to be killed so that you can live. The torture and death of not only humans but animals, the cruelty, just to keep the food chain going is but on top of that, you have actual literal intellectual evil that goes on by the psychopaths that run the whole joint, and then they try to come off as the good guys, or where would you be without us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. We're here to protect you.
We're here to protect you. Or the people that literally have a monopoly of violence. They have the monopoly on violence. The ability to declare wars, send people to wars, etc. And then with a straight face, while they do that, tell you violence is never the answer.
Yeah. Never the answer. Never the answer.
Everything we do is with violence. Could never get accomplished without violence. You're all living under the threat of violence, but violence is never. Just remember that is never
the answer. Peace and love, man. Peace and love.
I just don't understand how you can.
Total clown world. I just wanted to say one more thing about astral projection before we move on, and I think it's important because, and spoken with enough astral projectors too to I really believe that there are different levels of lucidity with astral projection too. So I think that's also a big part of it. Whereas, you know, if you're practicing or having experiences, yeah, you're lucid, but you know, and I know what I had was an astral projection during those experiences. But the fact that there is a gap there where I am not aware of, you know, that segment that kind of went me where I was in like mid Jersey to my final destination, of which was still, you know, probably another 100 miles or something, and I don't have any recollection. It was like I went from one point, boom, to where I wanted to go. And
Well,
I didn't intend for that to happen. It just happened.
to be fair, you were going through New Jersey, so
Yeah, especially there. It smells like shit over there in that area too.
yeah. So to be fair,
It's more
you could have
North
just
Jersey,
been
but
bored back to sleep until maybe you got to Atlantic City or something.
The armpit of the nation.
That's what, you know. I'm very familiar with New Jersey.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So I mean, not knocking anybody from Jersey. Got a
No,
lot of friends in New Jersey,
same.
you know. But the state is what it is. It's a giant tyrannical shithole full of people, full of people that run it that are all corrupt.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is.
Like
But,
Chris
you know,
Christie when you know, his last few days in office on what was it, July 4th, and he shut down the whole state, but yet him and his family were sitting on the beach. Remember that?
All of them. Yeah, it doesn't even remember. It doesn't even matter which party they're from. They're all the same.
All the same.
Yeah, all the same. Yes, absolutely.
And that's a good lead in for where we're going next with, you know, eliminating media and news consumption, and clearly politics.
Oh my
tie
gosh,
in with
yes.
that. You know,
I was used to be a news junkie years ago.
same.
Yeah, I used to consume, you know, and honestly, it's another way for them to, I think, generate loosh, because you get all. It's like you're able to produce the loosh without actually being involved in the conflict. I mean, think about it. They have whatever it is they have you upset about this week or this month. You're practically virtually participating in something that you probably don't even have any control over, right?
Yep.
If there's a war going on the other side of the world, and you're constantly watching it on the news, it's almost like you're participating in the event, but you're not. There's nothing you can do about it in the first place. And the thing is designed to stress you out, to keep you focused on whatever it is they're distracting you with, and to it's a very bad addiction. At some point, I gave it up, and nearly completely. I will still check a news feed every now and then just to see what the headlines are saying on certain alternate news sites. I don't really even bother going to like the main ones because they're all so, so full of BS. But sometimes I will not even know. I'll just have days or weeks go by and I will not pay attention to anything. And, it's almost like healthy. You know, you feel
Absolutely.
body feels healthier. But what I noticed is I don't even need to know or look. If you're out shopping or if you're somewhere and there's people talking around you, you don't even know them. They're just in a crowded area like a supermarket, or somewhere where people are just chatting in a restaurant or something. I will. I will find out what it feels like is almost like I'm from another reality or something, because I'm sitting there and I'm not a part of their all their mind controlled, news absorbed chaos that they're caught up in. And I'll be sitting there and I could just listen to the conversations, and I'll realize, oh, this happened here, and that's what everybody's talking about today, or that's supposed to be the next thing to worry about, and chat.
Next bullshit on the assembly line.
Yeah, I think the whole controversy with the alleged leak from the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
I think that hadn't gone on for like a week. Apparently, I had no idea.
It's like, who cares?
Yeah, and then I was out somewhere, and I hear people like all upset, stressing over some Supreme Court thing. I'm like, I wonder what they're talking about, you know? Mm-hmm. And again, what are they going to do about it? Nothing.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Nothing. March on Washington? You're going to show up at the Supreme Court justices' homes and change their mind? Come on, it's all planned. I mean, everything. It's just, and it's so obvious. It's total bait and switch. Just, let's try and get the reaction out of them out of this. Yeah, and then they just move along to different segments in society. Trying to bait people in to piss them off. I mean, that, or get them sad, angry, or, I mean, and it's just, It's pathetic.
Sure. Have you been to a restaurant lately and asked for, a drink or whatever, Mark, and they brought you a drink with a straw?
Oh, yeah. The wonderful paper straws, you mean? Or the cardboard?
Well, not all of them. Most of them are back to plastic again.
They are.
But remember the straw incident, the straw story. And I mean, this is the other thing. When they don't have, it's almost like it's almost like there must be somebody in charge. Like, okay, we don't have anything we need them to stress about. Yeah. So then we have to make something. So then they come up with is it a blue dress? Is it remember the dress?
Yes,
remember
yes.
that? Is it a blue? Is
blue,
it black?
purple, whatever the hell it is.
Gold. And they would have like these discussions on back then I was still occasionally watching TV, news TV, and it was even dumbfounding for me back then. I said, who gives a crap about the color of this dress? Right? And then the whole straw thing, and I knew everybody, all these people, they just jump on the straw bandwagon, and then of course it goes away, and then when it goes away, you give it a little time, and then you're at a restaurant, you get a grass with a plastic straw, like it never happens. Yeah. That's like what happens. I told you about the gas station thing once before, didn't I?
Perhaps. You might have to remind me though.
Oh, back in the 90s, it was a big deal. When cell phones came out, they was a big giant deal. They would have these stickers at the gas pumps. There was news stories about you could explode the entire gas station if you have your cell phone out.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And then of course now when I pull up to because where we live, there's a lot of skimmers. A lot of pumps use, have been infiltrated.
Try and get skimmers. Your debit card, credit card.
Right. So the only way to get an actual full tank of gas without guessing, because you have to go into the gas station and pay the clerk if you're smart. Otherwise, your card could get corrupted by inserting into the gas pump. So some gas companies have apps. And of course, when you go up to the gas station to use your app, so you can make sure that you're paying for the gas pump to activate through the phone app, what does it have you do? Well, just great. You're at our mobile station. Just put your camera up to the gas pump QR code, so that the app can determine where you're at.
Yeah. So
that it can then turn on the gas pump for you. Suddenly, the gas station's not going to explode anymore. How about that?
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's incredible. Wow. News stories about the gas stations blowing up, all that stuff. I sure are lied to at every turn. Every turn is another manipulation, another lie. It's just...
But don't lie to me, Dan. You tell me. I mean, I was really scared of the murder hornets.
Murder hornets?
I think they were called murder hornets, or I'm pretty sure they were called murder hornets. And basically, this was probably at the height of the whole thing that we've been dealing with over the last few years. and they threw that one in there. I think they're called
Oh,
murder hornets.
wow.
I'm gonna look it up now.
I vaguely remember something about these. Yeah, I vaguely remember something about
Yes,
that.
murder hornets. That is the name.
Yes.
What you need to know about murder hornets.
You know what the thing is? The whole thing comes down to the fact that everybody has this mystery about death, and as long as that veil exists, maybe there's something to that comic book I told you about. You know,
which one?
There's a comic book. It's in like an indie comic. Like I think it's called Atomic Press or something. The name of the comic book is Silver City. It's written by a girl who, in college, she had a dream, or maybe it was an out of body experience, because she said it was more vivid than a dream. It was like a reality she experienced while she was sleeping, and then she woke up. She wrote it all down, and then years later, when she ended up working, I guess, for a comic book company, she told somebody about it. They thought it was an interesting story, so they had her make a five. It's only 5 comics that tells the story, and I'm halfway reading through it right now. It's called Silver City, and it's about a girl that dies in an airport when an airplane crashes into the terminal and kills everybody, and then it's like a mass death event, and then she ends up on this astral city where it's kind of like dark and seedy and not exactly heavenly, and she ends up hooking up with these people living in like an apartment in this astral city because they took her in. And the one guy there at some point begins telling her the story of humanity and how apparently in ancient times there was no mystery about death. According to in the comic books, according to this comic, there was no mystery about death. People that would die from the physical earth would enter the afterlife, and people that their family members and relatives were easily able to communicate with them while they were in the afterlife, and everything was great, and nobody was afraid of death. And then these people came along, or these beings, or whatever, and in the comic book they're called timekeepers. The timekeepers came and saw an opportunity to. This is a very similar story to Monroe and to everything else, that we're told over and over again. The timekeepers saw an opportunity to enslave humanity so that it would work for them, and they did that by veiling off the afterlife. And eventually, as generations passed, death becomes a mystery. We become afraid of death. And then because of that fear and because of our limited perception that life may end here and we don't know what happens next, it was easy for these timekeepers to take control of humanity and become its rulers and then enslave everyone here. Doesn't that sound familiar to all the others?
Sounds very familiar.
Right.
I'm glad you brought that back up again.
Yeah, and it's a really good. The artwork is good. I'm enjoying the comics so far. I haven't got to the end, but Silver City by oh man, I have to try to find the comic book company that wrote it. I'll find it for you. Anyway, the point is that we do have you saw it in the last couple of years. Not so much, but maybe me and you, Mark, and a lot of people that follow our work. But there are people absolutely terrified of the inevitable, which is death. They are so terrified of it that they will do anything to try to mitigate or alleviate that fear. They will surrender their sovereignty, they'll surrender their individuality. They'll listen to the most ridiculous rules. They will surrender their freedom. They will sell out their neighbors for another second of life. I mean, it's really unbelievable. how
It
people
is.
behave, and they'll all turn on each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but no, you know, report your neighbor. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
call up the cops if they're not doing as they're told.
Yes, yes. Okay, it's Aftershock Comics. Aftershock
Okay,
is
Aftershock.
the publisher, and the comic name is called Silver City,
After.
which I know you can get it online. Like if you have Comixology, it's in there. It's in there. They seem to have
Actually,
a lot of esoteric type comics. So it's like their thing.
let me put this
They
up
have a
here. Sorry, go ahead.
Aftershock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a description. Yeah, I see there's actually a web page on Aftershock for Silver City, and it's only got 5. It has a complete series. What do you call it? Damn it! There's a word for that. When they assemble a comic book series into one book, the
Anthology.
trade. No,
What?
the trade paperback.
Oh, okay.
The trade paperback is that not the omnibus is when they have like a massive collection that they put together, but the trade paperback is like a series that they package into one book. So the trade paperback's available. It's only 5 comics that make up the story. I'm reading the second book now.
Nice.
But the whole thing, it's like, wow. I mean, here's this whole at the astral plane in this comic book is clearly controlled by the same beings that are now in control of the Earth physical life, the physical plane. So it's exactly what you were saying, that the astral is part of the matrix in this book, in this comic book series. That's also what's going on there. There's also this separation or intentional veiling between the living and the dead, so that fear can be maintained on Earth. And the whole thing operates fear based. It's all fear based.
100%. Yeah, it's all everything is fair based. Couldn't agree more. Just the description I'm looking at here says, when a young roughneck lands in Silver City, the gritty, purgatorial metropolis of the afterlife, she must adapt to her new existence while attempting to uncover how and why she died. Her mission is derailed, however, when she rescues a newly dead girl from a mysterious kidnapping attempt and discovers powerful kinetic abilities. Welcome to Silver City, where the sun never rises and nothing ever changes. Until now.
Right?
Nothing ever changes.
Nothing ever changes. Yes. What if they let you peek in the comic? No, they don't give you peeks. I mean, there's a whole thing in the end of the first book where it shows you like a flashback of Earth. There's also some kind of blue knight. It's like this warrior figure that has wings and a sword. And the Blue Knight was trying to liberate the Earth realm, but he failed, and nobody knows what happened to him.
Wow. Yeah. So the Liberator gets destroyed. Gets
well,
taken
I mean,
out.
this is based. Apparently, the girl. I listened to an interview. There's an interview on YouTube on the Aftershock comic channel where I guess the one of the higher ups of Aftershock Comics interviews the girl that wrote the story, and even in the comic books they have photos of her original journal entries from her. I think it was an astral projection. You can see her.
Is it English?
Yeah. She was going to college for whatever reason. Probably didn't gain anything by going to college except wasting her time and money. But the the thing is that she went to bed. She went to bed one night, had this experience. To her, she said it didn't feel like a dream; it felt real. And then it was so powerful that she woke up and wrote it all down. And then this is a fictionalized version of that story. So it's not exactly what, she experienced. It's more, to make it comic book friendly, to make it material that, fiction to
Sure.
sell. It's been fictionalized with additional characters and plot points and stuff like that.
That might be an interesting person to try to reach out to, maybe talk to. I mean, if she's done interviews, you never know.
Yeah. I mean, it's only a one runoff comic book. I don't think there's any sequels or anything. You have to go to these other companies like Aftershock and some of these other companies if you want to read a decent comic book. You won't find them in the main comic book companies much anymore. DC and Marvel pretty much print trash now.
Yeah, that goes along with destroying everything, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
All right, so we only got about 10 more minutes. So I think the last segment, we wanted to kind of talk about seeking truth. It's kind of a continuation of what we discussed last stream, but didn't really have much time to go too deep into it. So I think, taking the last 10 minutes, and we do have some questions, but perhaps we can hold those questions for the next discussion.
We can, if you want, Mark, we can talk about a little bit about that and take some questions.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So let's, it shouldn't even take that long to go. I mean, just about like the landmines while seeking truth and all the deception and endless roadblocks that we run into just trying to get just a sliver of truth. So
yes, I mean, talk about a world where you have to be delusional and not see all the evil going on here. We're pretty lucky that we live in a part of the world that was in a time period where we had access to so much information that if you wanted to know, you could do all this research like we've done. And yet, at the same time, it's so disappointing that most people if you bring this up, most people will reject it. They're very comfortable with whatever, if it's a materialist thing they got going on, if it's some kind of religious thing they got going on, they're locked into it. The biggest obstacle, of course, I think, is the subconscious mind, especially for religious people. I mean, these people are programmed that if they cross whatever it is they've been told about the afterlife, about their God or whatever, that's supposedly so loving and so caring and so wonderful. If they cross this loving, caring, all wonderful, all forgiving being, you'll burn in eternity for even considering any of this material. I mean, and of course, the subconscious mind can work with that, because that's part of the problem is how we've been divided and fragmented internally, even internally, like our subconscious, our conscious mind. Then you have the physical body. Would you say the etheric and the astral body are the same body?
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah,
it's the same body. And then you have the core you, which you don't even know anymore.
Completely
lost. You don't know. You have to operate as your current identity, and if you screw this up after you die here, you will end up with a new identity, and you won't have any memory of this.
Hello? Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought you dropped out. Yeah. No. It's unbelievable how like the core is just so layered, and you only get bits and pieces of it. And if you're lucky, that kind of piece is going to bust through the etheric astral body and even the human body, and I guess eventually start asking questions, and don't stop and hope that it doesn't run into these roadblocks like we were talking about, and cognitive dissonance and religions and all the matrix narratives that are pushed on us from cradle to grave.
Sure. I mean, I know for myself how many times I sabotage my own research because of, I went through Catholic school from kindergarten to the end of high school. The fact that I was able to overcome that brainwashing is amazing. But if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yep.
You have to unbrainwash yourself. You can't have somebody else do it for you. And you're sitting there thinking, oh, just for reading this material, I'm gonna get incinerated in some lake of fire or something like that. Some people are so entrenched in that they really cannot even begin. They can't pull themselves out of that.
You're gonna burn.
Yeah, I mean, to think how people punish themselves.
Yeah.
We are not here imprisoned by an Alush farm that has the ability, I don't think, to forcefully imprison us. We get tricked into imprisoning ourselves.
Exactly. And that's where the big misconception comes in with the whole soul trap thing, is this ridiculous narrative that there's just zero control. It's like you're at the mercy of everything, and that's the bottom line, and that's it. It's like, no, we've played our role in this somehow. It seems obvious, but there are quite a few out there who will push back on that, but that's because of whatever the reason is. It's either cognitive dissonance, or they're not doing proper research, or or they just want to have that victim mentality, and feel bad, like they're helpless and worthless and stuff like that, when nothing could be further from the truth. We're ridiculously powerful and capable of insane abilities outside of this limited construct that we're in right now.
Yep. That's right. And once we get out of here, we can do whatever we want. But only we can. It's definitely a trick of a terms of service agreement they have going on.
100%. It's very exactly. I like how you put that in your videos in the past. There, the fine print. We're not reading it. They're just okay. Yeah, we don't know what pain is. We don't know what a human body is. We don't know what the physical is. All right, let's give it a shot. Yeah, we'll just go down there.
Yeah, well, we just had to click no next time. That's all. No, I mean, you do it all the time. Of course, if you want to use the system, you're going to just click yes. We do it all the time.
Yep.
Right? I did it the other day. I was on PlayStation 4. I wanted to try a demo, and of course, before the demo starts, it had this bajillion terms of service, privacy policy, blah blah. Like, agree. I didn't read any of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just a stupid game I wanted to try. Yeah. Now, I think, but this time, at least people like that listen or research this stuff are prepared like we are. We know we do not want to play the game next time. So we're just going to click no.
Yeah. Simple as that. And, I really think part of, realizing our true power is having something like an out-of-body experience. I don't want to go too long, and maybe we can talk about this next time we get together, but I've had quite a few meditations where I was in a void-like state where I was just like this pure type of existence, and it was incredible. And it happened quite a few times, and still does to this day every once in a while. But words can't describe how it feels. And then some people will say, oh, well, I can't imagine myself being in a black void, the rest of my existence. And I keep saying, that's not what I'm saying. I am not saying that. All I'm saying is when we cross over, that we allow ourselves to be in that state where we're not so overloaded with sensory distractions or entities or whatever the case may be. Just kind of isolating ourselves for a little while till at least we can reconnect with ourselves and figure out, you know, everything that's happened before we even got here or what led to us getting up here. And then sure, you want to go explore. I mean, that's probably what most of us will do anyways. It's in our nature, but I think kind of zoning down into that one little area is just the safest thing to do, and not have this distraction or any distraction.
That's something. Yes, that's that's something that I never mentioned before. But while I've never had external astral projection experience, I used to practice, especially when I was younger, and I would get sick a lot. I would practice a lot of self hypnosis and to try to help myself out, and it worked. But I had internal. I don't know if anybody's ever coined this or knows what I'm referring to. Internal astral projection experience, where I kind of met myself, but like an oracle version of myself. I asked myself questions and I got profound answers.
You did a video on that, didn't you?
I don't remember. I may have mentioned it once.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, I mean, that is something that even now, if I think about, when I'm falling asleep, it's almost like I can go to an internal place. It's almost like a cave where there's me, but I have no human face. It's more like a hooded figure with a staff, and I just have to ask a question, and I get my own. It's like me answering me, but from the end point or wherever you end up last, where you don't have anything to worry about anymore. And you know what I mean? It's weird, but
no, it sounds interesting. That's cool. That's very cool.
So, any questions out there?
Yeah, I was just about to get to that. DWHRGRT says, "Can we reincarnate into animals?"
I think we can. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, I agree. I do think that the let's just say there's not much out there to support it in terms of like reincarnation research. There's been some here and there, but I don't think for a minute that that's not possible. I think there's a good chance that many of us have gone through a cycle of, maybe when we first get here, I've talked about this before, where maybe when we first get here, we're like a leaf on a tree or a tree. And then and then later incarnations become like a worm, a bird, a fish, a lion. And then we kind of just work our way up to human form. And there are some spiritual texts that suggest that too. Not to say that that's definitely the case, but that's what I feel is going on. I look at my dog and I know there is a true essence being inside of her. I just know it.
Me too.
I've also had dogs though where I don't feel that. So that's a little weird too, but you just know. You just know.
My dogs have had, I know the feeling. They have very distinct personalities, emotions. Yes, one of my dogs right now is a plotting thief that will steal any paper towels and toilet paper they can get a hold of. She thinks she's all slick when she's doing her little. Definitely.
I just think it seems very, at least it seems obvious to me, just because of our personal, at least my relationship with animals, your relationship with animals, even out in the wild, like you can feel it, you just know it inside you. So who's to say that we haven't done that before? So
sure.
So Tomas Pena asks, in Ultimate Journey by Robert Monroe, Chapter 12, Inside the Inside, he writes about escape velocity. Are you aware of this? What do you make of it?
Yeah, see, Mark Monroe did talk about last timers, this place called an outer rim. That's where like the last timers leave or achieve escape velocity. I think that could be very well be all it takes. I mean, there were people clearly, or not people, but beings that he met in his book that were simply on sort of like a tour or like a vacation. And they were simply exploring all these other realities and everything. And Earth seemed to be its own thing, its own unique thing. And it had this history of being manufactured as a loosh farm, but also all that mental band noise that would attract beings to want to incarnate there and experience the life on Earth. So I think it's interesting that you need an escape velocity, or maybe you could translate that to a true desire to leave in order to get out once you go in.
Yeah, no, I think I think the great Julie puts a great question out there. It says, yeah, but the click out of the outer rim, and no one knows where they go after that. Who knows if they haven't been reincarnated here? That's why I just think the whole intention thing is king. Think about it. Why should we have to traverse anywhere if we are capable of, the equivalent of teleporting instantly with our creator being abilities, which we know we are? Then why do you have to travel to some outer rim or some area? It just shouldn't have to be. Shouldn't have to be that way. It should just, because then it just seems like, oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go from one matrix into another. Oh, what are you gonna keep falling into the traps? So that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that whole thing is basically responding to your desire.
Yep.
Okay, so there's an escape velocity or this outer rim area because a lot of people actually do not, no matter how much they tell you that they actually want to leave, they leave here. I'm convinced that many people say that they want to leave here or that they've had enough of Earth life or this, that, but they don't actually want to leave.
Yep. Yeah. They truly. I agree. I think that that's what it boils down to, is that intention, that those attachments are a killer, total killer, and
sure,
there's something
Monroe,
left there,
Monroe was still attached here after all he went through.
Yep. Took that turn. So Tomas also asks, why are we unconscious during sleep? My thesis is our energy to maintain consciousness while awake is consumed and needs to be recharged, sort of.
Yeah, in that book, Hacking the Out-of-Body Experience, from Robert Peterson there, he talks about the sleep cycle as almost like a wash cycle. Mm-hmm. When he described it, the way I was listening to it yesterday, when he was talking about that, it's kind of in the beginning of the book, I guess. But when he describes what scientists know about our physical sleep cycle, it does seem like almost like a resetting wash cycle. Like you have to be prepped again for the next day, probably for loosh production, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And you need to be like reset.
Yeah, that's my opinion on it too.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's the last. Anything you wanted to add there, Dan? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it was a great talk. I'm surprised it made it this long and my voice didn't give out.
Yes, it's been a great chat, man.
Yeah, and thanks for having me back again, Mark. When I finish the comic book Silver City, I'll probably do a review on that.
Awesome. And everyone should check out your most recent video. I did post it earlier, and we'll post it in the description tab and comment section as well.
Oh, great. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your channel. I really think, honestly, that you have taken the ball and run with it because, there's there's not, it's not like to change people's minds out there. Either you want to know this information or you don't want to know the information. Sometimes it gets exhausting just to think you're talking into the ether. Nobody really cares.
Yeah, but a lot of people do care. So that's kind of what drives me to do it, and I'm sure that's what's driven you to do it too, besides obviously our self-exploration within us. But yeah, I mean, there's more people are connecting with the information than not. So it
does seem to be more people today, which is probably why the Matrix is latching down on it more and more.
Yeah. Yeah,
I want it to get too big.
Yeah, no, and there's so many blurring of the lines with it. It's not even funny. And it's the most disgraceful area to do it in my opinion. But
yeah, thanks, Mark.
You're
doing a great job. I love your setup. I love the intro, everything about it. I love your. I usually have them playing in the background. We do those in-depth NDE analysis videos. I really enjoy those. Keep that up. And look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And just as a reminder, everyone, you can check out Dan's website at OverWatchProject.com. That's OverWatchProject.com. He also has an Odyssey account, BitChute, Minds, Gab, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can check out all those descriptions in the description tab. And I'll also include his most recent video about the movie review on Infinite. And don't want to hold you up anymore, Dan. I got a few more things to go over, but I will catch up with you soon. And thank you for spending time with us today. I very much appreciate it. Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so just that was great. I really appreciate Dan coming on to the show today. Really quickly, just wanted to put out there that tomorrow, Saturday, May 28th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, will be the monthly members live stream for the Last Timers Club supporters, levels 1 and 2. So I'm sorry, 2 and 3. So feel free to come by and check out that stream tomorrow. That'll be again 4 p.m. Eastern, and a link should be up sometime tomorrow, late morning, early afternoon. And I believe, a few more things. I also have 2 YouTube channels, 2 backup channels, just in case something should ever happen. So feel free to subscribe to those. It's Forever Conscious Research 2 and 3. And those are also available in the description tab. I also have a Twitter and an Instagram. On Instagram, I've done a 3-part video series on the NDEs and DMT crossover and show examples of how the soul trap pertains to that section of things. So feel free to swing by over on Instagram. And then, of course, I have an Odyssey, a DLIVE, and maybe I said Twitch, where occasionally I'll play video games. So feel free to check those out, the description tab, and head on over to Dan's website and video channels on YouTube and Odyssey, and we will see each other again real soon. Thank you so much. As always, much appreciated and much love.